Hello, my name is Kirioth, and today we are going to talk about the resurgence of the Chaos rumours again. So this is getting increasingly a thing. We've talked about this before, how there are consistently, at the moment, and have been for quite a while now, rumours of some sort of Chaos release coming up. Now, to be honest, I think at least one of these is entirely plausible, and I'm really hopeful for the other one. So this was sent to me via someone on Twitter, but I think, having done a quick Google, it's actually straight from Fayet212, and they've simply pointed me in that direction. So it's a two-part thing. We'll start with the most realistic first, because I don't know if this really counts as a rumour, because I'm just assuming this is something that's going to happen, and that probably sounds a bit brave, a bit daring, and not at all having the appropriate amount of salt with it, but I think you'll find out why. I mean, the second part of this rumour is Vigilus Black Legion. Black Legion will make an appearance in the Vigilus campaign. Any new rules for Black Legion will be for specific models. Now, the second bit, not 100% on, but the first bit, absolutely yes. I don't think that counts as a rumour or a guess or like a vague wish. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Black Legion will show up at Vigilus, because it is, I mean, it's essentially the world where the largest and most well-known representatives from every faction show up to have a massive scrap. And let's face it, Black Legion are the face of your standard Chaos Space Marines, just as Ultramarines are the face of your standard Space Marines. So Black Legion showing up is not even really that much of a rumour or a leak or a guess. It seems pretty inevitable. And as soon as we saw a new Chaos Lord, new Chaos Space Marine sculpts in the colours of Black Legion for Blackstone Fortress, my immediate thought was, oh man, we're never going to see those again. It was, okay, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, we've got the Vigilus Weekender coming up, so I'm not 100% sure. I'm probably not even 80% sure, because you never know. But I would be surprised if there wasn't some sort of announcement or some sort of hint or offhand comment about the Black Legion showing up at Vigilus and there being a little bit of Black Legion goodness flowing around. We keep hearing stuff about a new Abaddon model. Obviously, there's been no images or any actual proper, like, evidence-based leaks. It's just been, I spoke to a guy who knows a dude who once met a lad at Warhammer World who was wearing a Games Workshop t-shirt who said that there was going to be a new model. A lot of it feels very much like that, but he is kind of overdue that treatment by years, and for someone who played such a big part in Gathering Storm, not getting a new model felt a little bit off. With Vigilus, kind of makes sense, really, doesn't it, to have something like that happen, to have the Black Legion show up in force. And we have heard rumours of new Mutilators or Obliterators. We've now got confirmed new Chaos Space Marine sculpts, which will be available eventually as their own box. We now have Traitor Guard as well. I'd say it's a given. It's just a case of when. Maybe something will be announced at the Vigilus Weekender. Maybe it'll be announced after Christmas. But it's not really so much of a unlikely scenario, is it? The other part of this rumour is, again, back to Emperor's Children. So this is all this Chaos stuff that keeps kind of coming back over and over again. Not like recycled rumours, because things are a little bit different every time, but there is a slight alteration in that there's been a name drop this time round. So it's Emperor's Children. Games Workshop has been at work on an Emperor's Children release. There'll be new models, but no word on what the new models are. I mean, you'd hope for Noise Marines or Cacophony, depending on whether you want to go for Horus Heresy designation or the old school Noise Marines designation. Probably, I mean, looking at what we've had in the past for Thousand Sons and Death Guard, reasonably speaking, we'd expect to see Noise Marines. We would expect to see Palatine Blades, the Terminators for Emperor's Children. I would expect some sort of vehicle, maybe two, and some kind of like cultist thing as well. I mean, that would fall in line with what we had from Thousand Sons, although Thousand Sons were a bit lacking in the tank department, but they did then get access to the the Mutalith Vortex Beast or whatever it is. Is it Mutalith? No, Mutalisk is Starcraft. I can't remember. The thing with the massive vortex thing on its back, they got access to that. I mean, it would make sense because we've had the Pox Walkers, we've got the Plague Marines, we've got a couple of different flavours of Terminator for Death Guard, and then for Thousand Suns we had the Zangals, and then we had the Rubric Marines, and we had Terminators, and that would all add up for Emperor's Children to have an equivalent release to those, which is what I assume they would have. I mean, there's been a steady progression of that first kind of what I think of as like the prototype version of the God-specific codexes, or the Legion-specific codexes, when we had the one for Khorne, which I've just immediately forgotten the name of. The one where it was all the Khorne demons and all the Khorne, and like World Eaters and all that stuff. Berserkers, that's what I meant, in one codex. I can't remember what the name of that codex is now. That's bad. But we had that, then we had the Thousand Suns, and then we had the Death Guard. Emperor's Children getting their own version would make sense, because once Emperor's Children are done, it would then roll back around to Khorne, which I would assume would be a dedicated World Eaters codex. So, it's one of those things where it makes enough sense that I would be surprised if it didn't happen. It's just a case of when. But the added detail to this now, the thing that's changed a little bit from all the other times that this has come up, is the name drop of a designer who has worked for Games Workshop, or works for Games Workshop, keeps a personal blog. I'll link it in the description so you can see what he does. His name is David and something French. I'm going to put it just the name in the description. I'm not going to try and pronounce it because I'll butcher it, and mispronouncing fictional names I don't have a problem with. Butchering people's real names, I don't like doing that because it feels disrespectful. So I will. I'll put a link in the description down below so you can see what he's done, and there'll be a couple of images in the video showing what he's worked on. Now, to be honest, it could go either way, the use of this dude's name. It could be a case of, yes, this makes it more plausible because this is a designer. He's clearly very good at this stuff, and he obviously has a talent and passion for Slaanesh and Emperor's Children, which is exactly what you'd want. On the other hand, maybe he's got nothing to do with it, and the name drop is to lend it plausibility where there actually isn't any plausibility to be had. It could go either way, but if he is, or his work, or the stylings that he goes for are part of a general Emperor's Children kind of the basis of them, I would be happy with that, because he clearly does very good work, very nice work, and very appropriate work for Emperor's Children. Like, he's definitely got a talent for that particular faction. He's a designer and a sculptor, so he would have, but you know what I mean. He clearly has a flair for that specific thing, on top of all the other ridiculously talented things that he can do, which I cannot even remotely approach and have no idea how it's done. So yeah, there is an added detail to that, but it could just be that someone's name has been picked out. It's kind of, there's still plenty of salt to be taken with that particular rumour, but it does make me a little bit hopeful. I'll be honest, I'm kind of hoping that if we do see that big Emperor's Children release, that maybe he would have some sort of involvement, because he does unquestionably good work. So yeah, that is what we have in terms of some more Chaos rumours, very similar to old Chaos rumours, but at least one of them is obviously completely plausible. Actually, let's have a quick chat. Let's just talk about rumours very quickly, just rumours in general. So, a couple of times when I've made videos recently and we've talked about rumours, I've kind of stated we don't tend to talk about rumours all that often. And relatively speaking, actually, I don't think that's true. We do. But I think it's not important, but I would like to point out that I actually don't talk about every single rumour. I don't make a video on every single rumour. If I did, there would be like a video every single day about it, pretty much without fail, because there's always some theory being thrown around. The way I tend to approach this stuff is kind of a mix of plausibility and interest. See, if I come across something that is quite clearly plausible, that obviously has a foundation in reality and could well turn out to be true, whether it's now or in a month's time, then I'll talk about it, because there's something to be gained from the discussion of that rumour. Like, if it's something that is not just a blatant kind of wish, just a blatant, oh, it'd be nice if this happened, but I've got absolutely no evidence that it could possibly be true, I don't particularly like talking about those, because it feels like just throwing out information for the sheer hell of it without any consideration as to whether it might be accurate or not. The other factor is, I guess, the interest factor. So we have covered rumours in the past that are blatantly not going to happen. We have talked about stuff in the past where it's like, I've said outright, like, as we've started, it's like, this is not realistic. I don't see this happening at any point. But we're going to talk about it anyway, because the implications of an event like that would be interesting to see on the game or the universe of 40k as a whole. I think it's entirely possible to pick up a rumour that is obviously not going to happen and still discuss it whilst making it clear that it's not a thing that will occur. The important thing, I think, is pointing out when that is the case, which I always endeavour to do. Like, if something is quite clearly a load of old shit, then I will try and point out that it's quite clearly a load of old shit. But the implications of such a thing are interesting to think about. If it's something that is plausible, then I do make an effort to point out that it is plausible, but again, it's also just a rumour, so it might not come to pass regardless of how sensible it actually is. But yeah, covering all of them I don't do, because there are so many that are just a load of shit. Like, there's a good example, and the one that always comes back to me, and this is going to sound very hypocritical given how much stuff I leaked for the Orc Codex, although, to be honest, most of that turned out to be completely true. Which, look at the draw. And I waited until I had information that confirmed the initial information that was given to me. The actual, the interesting thing about that whole Orc leak thing was the vehicles. The person who sent me all that information sent me information about those vehicles well in advance. Well in advance. I knew the names of that stuff far before I said anything about it. And I think it might have even been Valrak made a video about what the other vehicles would be, or, what some of the stuff would be, before I did. Well before I did. Because I just sat on it. Because I was like, okay, we know that there are 2 new vehicles. This person is saying there's like another 4. They're given names and everything. Now, I could dump this out now, and it could turn out to be true, and that's great. Or I could dump this out now, and it turns out to be a load of old shit, and I've just, got people hopeful for things that clearly aren't going to happen. That's why I sat on it. Like, I could have made a video and kind of splurged it all out way quicker, but I wanted to see whether there was anything to it. I wanted to wait and make sure that there was actually something to what this person was saying. So when we started to see more of the Orc stuff, and it turned out that what they had told me was absolutely spot on, right down to the description of, the names of the vehicles and then what the vehicles did, that's when I started making videos on it, and that's when I started leaking what they'd sent me. And that's why I continue to leak what they'd sent me, because it was lining up with other things that we were seeing, and it was like, okay, this information is, for the most part, still good. Some of it was incomplete, but they were described to me as a playtester, so things will have changed since playtesting. So in that specific instance, that was a case of, okay, I'll wait and see what's what, and then if it turns out that this is legitimate, then I'll talk about it. If it's not, then I won't bother. The counterexample to that is the Dark Angel Codex, and that's the one that always sticks out in my head, and this is kind of the way that I try and split up the things that I talk about in terms of rumours and leaks. The Dark Angels Codex, there were so many rumours about what was going to be in that, and so much of it was like horrendous wish listing. I saw stuff with like Deathwing Terminators with 3 wounds and toughness 5, and every access to relics that meant you re-rolled ones on to hit to wound, and in a 12-inch bubble you were immune to morale, and you also gained a 2+ invulnerable save. And there was all sorts of blatant just crap that was being thrown around that codex, and I didn't talk about any of it because I just looked at it and went, no, that's not plausible, it's not interesting, so we're not going to go anywhere near it because it's clearly a load of shit. That's what I tend to try and separate. That's what I try and kind of apply as criteria to rumours that we do talk about. If it's not plausible, but it is still interesting, then I'll talk about it. If it is plausible, and I think that it's something that is possible at the very least, then we'll talk about it. But if it's just like wish list number 82, full of completely impossible stuff, what's the point? Why bother? There's nothing to discuss there. There's nothing, apart from saying, oh, that's OP, it'll never happen. There's less damage done by not sharing that stuff than there is by pointing it out and saying, hey, this is clearly bullshit, don't believe it. So, yeah, that's the way I kind of approach all the rumour and leak stuff, and it kind of dictates the bits that we talk about. So yeah, I don't know why I thought I needed to clarify that, but I thought I would. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments down below as to the rumours that we have discussed today. Are you with me? Black Legion obviously coming to Vigilus, not really a rumour. And the Emperor's Children stuff. It's getting a bit more, I don't know. It feels like it's taking shape a little bit, but there could be very well something that's been designed to happen by dropping a guy who's clearly very good at designing Emperor's Children stuff. So yeah, let me know what you think in the comments down below. In the meantime, feel free to click any of the shit on the screen, Patreon, subscribe, all of that stuff. Click it if you like, don't click if you don't want to, and I will see you for the next one. Toodaloo.